Sunday. I'm your host, Gabriel Von Graves, and always I am joined by my friend, colleague, and fellow seeker of the hidden truths, Raven Knight. Raven, welcome. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Together, we invite you to step beyond the ordinary into places where memory lingers, mystery breathes, and the ancient questions of humanity raise to the surface once again. We also want to take a moment to recognize the official culinary sponsor of tonight's program, Hudson Smokehouse in Ironton, Minnesota. Minutes from Brainerd, a regional treasure blending Texas style craft barbecue with Midwest heart, serving fresh, a warm and welcoming atmosphere. If you find yourself anywhere near Ironton, take the time to stop in. Enjoy the brisket and savor the experience. Tell them Gabriel Von Graves and Raven Knight sent you. We have a wonderful show. I'm so excited. Tonight, our journey leads us to deeper waters. Our guest, Maximum Furyk, begins his career in the roaming world of rock journalism, chronicling the pulse of music and culture. But over time, his path drifted into stranger territories, into the paranormal, into forgotten legends, into the psychological undercurrents of fear and belief. He explores UFO encounters, Bigfoot lore, hauntings, and the powerful ways human imagination shapes the unknown. With works such as The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot and The Septon, Maxim approaches the paranormal not merely as an unexplained event, but as a cultural artifacts. He studies why we need these stories, why we seek monsters in the forest, why we search the skies for answers, and he's also a very great author. And tonight, we are honored to have him here guiding us through the exploration. Maximum Furyk, welcome to All Things Paranormal. Raven, please bring us in.
Well, I am super excited, just like you said, super excited to have you here, Maxim. Thanks for joining us tonight, all the way from Florida.
Yeah,
So
you got that
happy,
right. Yeah.
happy that you could be here. I am super excited to learn a little bit about the books that you have, especially The Smurl Haunting. But before we dive into that one, I do want to talk to you a little bit about your background and how you actually got started in writing and how you got into the paranormal field itself. So if we could start there, I'd love to hear your background.
Yeah, for sure. I worked in addictions. I was in charge of a drug and alcohol program. And I'll tell you what, one of the most amazing things I found are people that are in recovery. Now, I myself, personally, I'm not in recovery, but people that are is just such a wonderful, empowering thing that I've met people that have been using heroin or meth or alcohol for decades, and then they find a way to go and stop, just stop. And when I ask these guys, these women, how did you stop? It's not one thing. A lot of them would say things, something like, "I don't know. It was a miracle." So I think that even that, recovery from addictions, from substances, is something that of the paranormal, because we don't know what that element is, but we all have it within us if we allow it to grow and breathe and foster and multiply and all that. I mean, God's given us talents. It's our job to multiply those talents. So I think, human beings are incredible at what we can do, what our potential is. And I was able to go and see some of that, in during my career. So anyway, I've always been a writer, and I wrote a lot about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And I conjured a term called celebrity blood voyeurism. Any idea what that means? Blood voyeurism?
Okay, I'm thinking in my head, but I'm not sure if I'm connecting. So
Okay,
like I
okay,
have
okay,
ideas.
okay.
But
Okay, no,
Please.
I'll explain it. Tell you what it means. Yes, my term celebrity blood voyeurism is society's pathological fixation for these celebrities that crash and burn. Amy Winehouse, Kurt Cobain, Lane Staley, you name it.
yeah.
There's a million of them. Seymour Hoffman. Um, uh, so we watch that. We watch them go. Climb out of the trailer park and become famous, and then we watch them crash and burn. And it's almost like blood in circuses. I mean, it's
Mhm.
we get some sort of a joy or delight from that, and it's really sick.
It
Uh,
is.
all these things are cautionary tales, but anyway, I was fascinated by drugs and what they could do. So for a short amount of time, I was pretty knowledgeable about current drug trends, whether it would be bath salts, synthetic cannabinoids, all the hallucinogens, Molly, ecstasy, ecstasy, MDMA, methylene deoxymethamphetamine. I mean, I knew those tags and those names and those things. I did, but I would track that and follow that. And the worst, of course, is fentanyl, because I remember when that started. I remember when they started to make that. I remember when they started to import it from Mexico. And then I remember when they started to dose every single thing, with fentanyl, whether it's heroin, crack, cocaine, whatever. So anyway, there's a real epidemic with that. Problem with fentanyl is that in the old days, if you did heroin, you might pass out. With heroin, it stops your breathing, it stops your heart, so you're dead. It's a very powerful thing. So anyway, that was my background. I wrote a book about a mine disaster called Shepton. It was the Shepton mythology. It took place in 1963, and that was 9 years ago. And Shepton had all of these paranormal elements, out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, and afterlife experiences. These miners, there were 3 miners that were trapped. 2 came out. The villagers wanted to know what happened to your buddy, and they started to accuse these guys of cannibalism. So, this wonderful, heroic story of human survival turned to cannibalism. And then it went from survival to cannibalism to, they said that Pope John the 23rd was in the mine with them. Get this, for 1963. Pope John the 23rd died in June. Shepton took place in August. They saw the Pope down there for 2 weeks. He was dead. And all 3 of his purported miracles, his alleged miracles, took place after he had died. So that was the book that opened up the doors. I got invited to paranormal conferences, podcasts, was on a 90-minute segment of Mysterious Universe in Australia, and just on and on and on. So that was the beginning. The Shepton mythology. Again, I tell people I never went looking for the paranormal. It stalked me, it found me, it hit me over the head, and I swear, it was just like fate. I was a successful rock journalist. I just, my one thing I did was the one book. Let me see if I can find this, please. I wrote a book on a group back home called The Boys, who evolved into a group called Timothy, and a group, here it is, a group called Dakota. And in 1980, Dakota toured with Queen. Remember Freddie Mercury and Queen?
Yeah,
and
of course.
The infamous picture of, let me see, okay, right there. There's Freddie Mercury, and there's Roger May, and there's the members of Dakota with Freddie Mercury there, 1980, and that was at the Madison Square Garden. So Dakota opened up, and Dakota, nobody's ever heard of them, but they recorded a song called Timothy that was about cannibalism in a mine shaft. That was Shepton. So the song Timothy paralleled what happened in my book, about the Shepton mythology. And again, just to reiterate, I was trying to write a rock biography tracing this song Timothy about cannibalism with an actual event. And that just blew up. And so, that's what happened. So what a long-winded answer, right? 20 minutes later. No, you don't.
Yeah, I do. Wow, what an interesting turn of events, though, I guess, because you were writing about that drew your curiosity. I was going to ask how you came to write about the Shepton incident if you were initially a rock journalist. So that kind of that makes sense.
Well, the thing of it is, you being in Wisconsin, you probably have, your own rock and roll heroes. You have people that have charted and did good things. With us back home, in the mountains of Pennsylvania, the only band that really made it was the Boys, who did Timothy in 1971. As a rock journalist, I wanted to go and document that. I was proud of the fact that these guys were from my backyard. And as I was writing this book, connecting the song Timothy with actual cannibalism in Shepton, I realized that Shepton had a lot more things happening than I realized. And I want to say two other things, if I may. One, Associated Press said that Shepton was the biggest story of 1963, surpassed only by the assassination of John Kennedy in November.
Wow.
And also, the other thing, and yeah, I'm blocking. It's gone. It was there were two things. Okay, whatever. No, there's only one thing. That was it. So, God, I hate when that happens.
It's okay.
But anyway, the the book was the beginning, and then I've had numerous books since then. But again, I love being in the paranormal realm, in the field, and within that paranormal community. It's just a great community because we seem to be tolerant of each other, and
Absolutely.
that's the thing. In my journey, I've met pagans and Wiccans, and this is a lot different than the old Christian mindset of good and evil, that's just very black and white. It's not that way. Life doesn't work that way. There's shades of gray. And with the pagans that I know, that I talk to, practicing pagans, they believe that evil or dark forces exist alongside of us, within us, next to us, and we need to coexist. So it's not like and again, I'm not bashing Christianity in any way, so I don't want anybody to call in and throw a dead chicken in my backyard or anything. But it's true. I mean, I think Christianity and takes a hardcore look, just stark black and white. It's not that simple. Things aren't just good and evil, So anyway, that's that. But during my journey, I've met so many people that have taught me and instructed me, and and Ed and Lorraine Warren were two of them. Very controversial. A lot of people don't like them for a whole lot of different reasons, and I mean, I could list 50 reasons, but I mean, they were good to me. They were mentors, and they helped me. I mean, the knowledge in the Schmerl haunting is, was certainly something that Ed and Lorraine. Good. There they are. That's my picture from 1988, and I met them, and so anyway, they were, pretty interesting people. Demonologists. They were the leading demonologists, probably ever. I would imagine in the history. Not excluding Catholic exorcists and people like that. But anyway, that was part of my journey. So, did I answer any of your questions?
No, you're doing absolutely great.
You're doing great. I know, we're like,
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm
You're
screwing up left and right. I forgot.
You're very fascinating.
I'm saying, like, I got 2 points I want to make, and I forgot the second one.
So how were the Warrens to work with? We do the circuit, and we agree with you. A lot of people we meet are very welcoming, very understanding.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter your religious background, doesn't matter who you are as an individual. They're very accepting, very helping. And as we talk to people, when we meet people that have met the Warrens, and we get kind of mixed reviews. So from your perspective, how are the Warrens when it came to meeting them and working with them?
Yeah, well, so West Pittston, Pennsylvania, where the Schmerl haunting took place, that was in my backyard. I'm from northeastern Pennsylvania. So when this happened in the 80s, I was up there a lot. I was taking pictures, I was talking to the neighbors, and I was staying in the background. I didn't talk to the Schmerls because they were involved with the paparazzi, with just a very nasty public, and also with demonic forces, allegedly. So they were under attack. So I didn't harass them. But in 1988, a book called The Haunted came out, and Robert Curran, he was a reporter that I worked with, a former newspaper guy. I worked with him, and he wrote a book called The Haunted. It was co-written by Ed and Lorraine Warren and by Jack and Janet Schmerl. So in 1988, Ed and Lorraine began a 15-city tour promoting the book. So when I found out they were going to be in a place called Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, a very touristy little place, with castles and all this trains and that. I contacted the promoter, and I got permission to go and interview them. So I remember, I think it was in July, and we're hanging out on the sidewalks of Jim Thorpe. I'm taking pictures, tape recording them, and they were just delightful. I mean, it's they were like, I was in my 40s, they were in their 60s, and it was like they were old friends, and they explained to me what they did, how they, how they, what the realm of the demonic was like. But as Christians, as Roman Catholics, I mean, they professed their faith, and the way it seems to be, if you were to go and make the 10 commandments of demonology, the power of Satan is great, but the power of God is greater. So
Absolutely.
these folks who believe in using artifacts like a crucifix, holy water, the Bible, to do battle. But they did a couple of presentations there, very schlocky, amateurish PowerPoint presentations for back in 1988. And I mean, I do PowerPoints, and I mean, I'm good. I mean, they weren't. So just saying, just saying. But one reason that, I mean, I liked them. One reason people didn't like them was because they were successful. Back in the day, Ed and Lorraine were making $5,000 a program. They would do programs at college universities, and 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 they did something like 700, 800 of these. So they were making money. They were on all the talk shows. Their books, even though they didn't write these books, they had ghostwriters, but still, in all of the books that you look at, like Graveyard, it'll be, or The Haunted, it'll be by Ed and Lorraine Warren at the top, when really they just played a small part in that. They just did this, the promoter, the publicist, just for promotion purposes. But a lot of people didn't like them because, they were making money, they were successful. Some folks thought they were con artists, thought that they were over exaggerating what they saw, what they did. Some people thought that they were hiding behind their Christianity and using that. So there are a lot of reasons to dislike them. But let's face it, in a capitalistic society, if Gabriel, if you and Raven and I could go and hit it out of the park and make $1 million or $1 billion, I mean, this is the United States of America. I mean, a lot of people are trying to do this. It's a capitalistic society. Ed and Lorraine were able to do that. But along with that success comes people that are envious and jealous, and they took their hits. A lot of people blasted them for that. And then I don't know a whole lot about it, but supposedly Ed had a young girlfriend, and Lorraine, was okay with that. I mean, I've seen some things like that, but again, I don't know about that, and I don't even discuss it. It's almost like if you have a good friend and he or she has some kind of like little neurotic tendencies, that drives you crazy, rather than saying, okay, this is it, I'm not stepping away, I don't need your friendship, you just sort of accept that fact and then work around it, don't let it make you crazy. But and so even with Ed and Lorraine, with all the negativity and that, I mean, they were my friends, and they mentored me, they helped me, they supported me, and I like them and I defend them. And why not have somebody defend the people that aren't there in the room? Why not be the voice?
Absolutely.
Because,
Love
so it's a mixed bag with that. The only thing, my only regret, I mean, I have two regrets, and I think I could remember both of these.
that.
One, I wish I could go back in time and meet with them again and ask them the same questions, but be more in depth, more probing. I wish I could do that. And the second thing, and I remember, is I wish I would have pitched them, say, hey, Ed and Lorraine, why don't we write a book together? Of course, I would have been the ghostwriter, but,
Right.
I mean, it would have been, I mean, it's what I do. I mean,
Mhm.
I mean, before this show, I'm asking you guys, let's do a corporation, right? I'll ship oranges up to Wisconsin, you sell them. And if we could do something, we'll make some money. But I didn't ask, them that. And that's pretty much atypical of me, because that's something that I, typically would do. So I don't know what happened there, but
That's
anyway,
fantastic.
Yeah,
Do you have a
yeah.
question off the top of your head that you would have asked? Now I'm curious because you said something more in depth. So is there something that you would have really liked to have known from them that you did not
No, I
ask them?
probably would have asked the same questions, but I would have just probed deeper,
Hmm.
Mm,
you know,
okay.
rather than just superficially. But they're, I mean, I kept in touch with them. I met them in 1988. It was wonderful. I had wonderful. I mean, who can say that? I mean, I knew Ed and Lorraine Warren. I hung out with them. We were pals. But they were in Monroe, Connecticut, and I kept in touch with them. I would call them up and talk to Ed. Lorraine was a lover of animals. She had a pet rooster called Einstein, and you could hear the rooster, crowing in the background. So that was kind of cool. But that was Ed and Lorraine Warren, just you know, uh, famous people, and so that was my experience with them.
Were you ever invited to their house and did you tour the museum from them curating it?
No, I did not. And let me see. I was working at the time. I had a full-time job, so I was doing the writing and everything on the side. But I never did. I do have Ed's card that I was just looking at the other. No, it's not there. But anyway, it's someplace here. But anyway, his business card from Monroe. But but no, I never did, and that's the other. I wish that I would have, but um, by the same token, I we went up to Buffalo, New York for a memorial. My Navy buddy passed, and we went up to Buffalo. And on the way down there, we passed by the Hinsdale House, which was the infamous haunted house in Western Pennsylvania. And again, I wish I had more time to have stopped there and maybe just take some pictures and just check that out. But that was the one that plays a part in my book, The Schmerl Haunting, because Father Treble, the hero of the Schmerl Haunting, he was the one that did 4 exorcisms and cleansed it. He was not able to cleanse the Hinsdale house. It was just too evil, too powerful. He said, when that happens, you just walk away, just leave. So that's what happened there. But um,
I love that. Well, you also did some stuff on Bigfoot. Tell me about Bigfoot.
Oh,
yeah, well,
I thought we were going to do this so early. So,
okay.
so
Yeah,
should
well,
we?
Bigfoot was, yeah, the lost tribes of Bigfoot. And this is your cue to go and put a little graphic up there on the screen. But if you don't have a graphic, I'll hold up the book. But there's the lost tribes of Bigfoot. And what I looked at it this way. I said, if Bigfoot isn't flesh and blood, what is it? So when you look at the facts, there's no bones, there's no carcass, there's no DNA. We've never found anything. I mean, we've come close. We thought we did, but
Right.
FBI's looked at hair, and looked at the DNA, but it's always been like fox or some rodent, some animal, some bear, but we've never found proof. What we do have is a collection of eyewitnesses who have seen things that have commonality. Bigfoot doesn't walk, it glides. It doesn't reflect light, it emits light. It seems to have a thing called bilocation, that it's in front of you, then it's behind you. Seems to go and shape shift all over the place. They say that it speaks telepathically. Some people that I talked to from British Columbia say that they're the students and Bigfoot is the teacher. Bigfoot teaches them things. Bigfoot gives them things. But I said in the Lost Tribes of Bigfoot that if it's not flesh and blood, what is it? And I pretty much piggyback on Jacques Vallée's theory that it's interdimensional. And I believe this is both Bigfoot and flying saucers, or UAPs, if you like, that they shape shift, they zigzag in between dimensions. And Einstein and Rosen talked about the bridge theory or the wormhole theory, that if you were to take the space-time continuum, and let me demonstrate, and you take that space-time continuum and fold it in half, instead of the space brothers going zillions of light years, from A to B, they can just go and punch a hole through the space-time continuum, and they're there, la-di-da, it's easy.
Mhm.
So, it's a theory that needs to be proven. And but we start with theories, and even in the paranormal, especially with Bigfoot, let's look at hypotheses that make sense. I mean, I know far too many people that write books and they claim they see Bigfoot. Oh, the smell too. There's the smell, the
Mhm.
stench.
Mhm.
There's the structures. You know, there's all this. There's the hoots, the sounds. So there's all these things, almost like Alan Hynek's levels of high strangeness. There's all kinds of elements of high strangeness there. Yes. So that gives us reason to believe there's something going on, something tangible, something of substance. But again, we don't have that proof. So I take a look at the interdimensional theory, and I think that explains it. And you know what? When I first did that, I know they're calling me woo. They use the term woo. They some of these guys in Western Pennsylvania, which is a real epicenter for Bigfoot hunters, they called me Doctor Woo. But but if it's not grassroots flesh and blood, then it's something else. Then it's woo. Well, I think the answer is woo, if you want to use that term, and I think that it's interdimensional. And here we are, all of us amateurs that are just have an interest and fascination in the paranormal, but we don't have a background in astrophysics or biology or chemistry, all the good stuff that might help us explain, what's happening there. So, I don't know.
There is
Maybe we
that.
need to go back to school or something. But anyway, when I first released the book, there was some pushback, for the woo. But now, it seems that people are coming around. Hardcore Bigfoot aficionados, people that go out there looking for Bigfoot, are starting to say, yeah, something. I think you have something there. So, the Lost Tribes of Bigfoot has gained respect in the Bigfoot community, which is the best thing I could ask for. It's been accepted, and and it's and I'm told it's well researched, and that's just is great to hear that. So that's what's up with Bigfoot. So okay,
Maxim, I love
that's
your
question
energy,
number
sir.
two, please.
I love that. You're fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah,
Well, I love the. Oh, I wasn't thinking we were going to ask that question so early on. So in every single episode of Dark with Paranormal, Gabriel and I have to have a conversation with our guest about Bigfoot. And when I found out that you wrote a book about Bigfoot, I was super excited to bring this up because I actually knew what your theory was, Maxim. But your theory actually kind of coincides with Gabriel's. Gabriel kind of has that same
yeah,
idea. Um, and that's he said if Bigfoot actually does, I mean, you could say this yourself, sorry, Gabriel, but he does say if Bigfoot exists, that's the only way that could even be a possibility of
yeah.
Bigfoot.
Yeah. What's interesting too, and you don't have to ask these questions, but on podcasts I've been asked, well, what do you think Bigfoot does all day? What would you do if you saw Bigfoot? That's a good one. I don't know. I'd freak out. Do you think that there's a connection with aliens and Bigfoot? One thing I do want to say that, see, again, when you look at the levels of the elements of high strangeness in Western Pennsylvania, in a place called Chestnut Ridge, there's more sightings of Bigfoot, cryptids, and orbs or flying saucers together. So
Mhm.
I don't know what that is. When I first heard about that, I just thought that was just totally crazy, and I didn't believe it. But there's been countless encounters, and one of the people we have back home in Pennsylvania is Stan Gordon, and Stan is almost like the guy that he's the keeper of the keys. Whenever the Pennsylvania State Police in Western Pennsylvania get a report on Bigfoot or flying saucers, UAPs, they say call Stan Gordon. And Stan will go and take the documentation, and he will go and write it down. I live in Luzerne County, Pennsylvania. 2 years ago, my neighbor said that he saw not one but two Bigfoot creatures in Mackinac. That's where I'm a tiny little mountain community in Pennsylvania, Mackinac, Indian name. And he saw a black one and a cinnamon color one. And I questioned him. I said, well, how did they act? He said they walked like humans. They turned around and looked at him like they were curious, and then they walked away. And I went there with my wife looking for tracks. We went there several days. There was a trail there that utility workers would use. So we couldn't find anything, but I called Stan Gordon. Stan called my neighbor and interrogated him, and then took that report. So at least that story has been documented. Another one back home, a friend of mine was the chief of the sheriff's department, and he gets a call at like around 11 o'clock at night by this older guy. He was letting his dog out to, take a leak, and he saw this Bigfoot creature, like I think he said like 11, 12 foot tall. And Craig, the sheriff, went over there, and I interviewed Craig. He said the guy wasn't afraid. And Gabriel and Raven, why do you think this old guy wasn't afraid staring into the eyes of Bigfoot?
I think as you age, you accept things you don't know. At least that's my perspective.
Okay.
Why do you think he was not afraid?
Well, he told Craig, he said the reason he wasn't afraid was because the Bigfoot had kind eyes. It had kind eyes. So
Aw,
yeah,
like three of the instance.
but great story, true story. I mean, this guy Craig now is the I don't know what you have in Wisconsin, but in Pennsylvania we have these magistrates. Like when
Hmm.
you need law and order, you go to a magistrate to go and look at certain crimes or whatever. And now he went from sheriff to district magistrate, and he's a straight shooter. And again, I asked him about this sighting, numerous times, and the story hasn't changed. So again, because Bigfoot has kind eyes, and again with the eyes, we typically hear that they emit red light. I mean, a lot of researchers have talked about that, but this was the first one I heard about the kind eyes. Typically, too, Bigfoot doesn't seem to be aggressive or ferocious. It doesn't seem to be threatening. It's not aggressive. As a matter of fact, most Bigfoot stories are boring, and they're pretty predictable of what's going to happen. So, the only, we have what was the canyon, Ape Canyon episode where they attacked this cabin. That was one. But the only other example of Bigfoot killing somebody was a story written by President Teddy Roosevelt, took place in Montana, and this Bigfoot-like creature killed a hunter. This is in Montana. So that's the only thing that I know of. And with Bigfoot, and I have a article about the abduction. It was Albert Osman. He was a Swedish Canadian trapper hunter, and something was messing with his campsite. So what he did was he was going to play a trick on this person. He hid in his sleeping bag with his rifle, and all of a sudden, he falls asleep, and something picks him up and takes him miles and miles, dumps him. Here, it's a family of Sasquatch. Mother, father, son, and daughter, and they fed him. The daughter fed him sweetgrass. They were curious, but he freaked out. He thought that just maybe they were going to use him for procreation purposes. So he decided that he had to leave. So he had chewing tobacco. So he enticed the papa Bigfoot, the Sasquatch, to take it. And then when it got sick, he took off. So went back home, didn't say anything. Now, this guy, Albert Osman, wasn't in it for the publicity, but he eventually contacted John Green, one of the original 4 horsemen of Sasquatchery. John Green was a British Columbia journalist, and John Green took his narrative, and Albert Osman was the first one to talk about what Sasquatch looked like in a family setting, when typically we talk about solitary Bigfoot, not family settings. He talked about how they acted. This abduction was the only one I've ever heard of, within the cryptid community, and he didn't talk about the smell. That was the one thing that was, that typically people talk about, either a horrific smell like a wet dog or fecal matter or rotten eggs, or even a perfumey smell. One theory that I've heard, either they use that as a warning or as a defense mechanism, or one thing that I heard at a conference was that they're interdimensional, and when they pass into our dimension, they bring with them that stench, which is part of that dimension. So, that's as good a theory as any. So, but it's funny because Albert Osman, that was, I think, I want to say 1924, I believe. That was the first example, the first case of an abduction by a Bigfoot. But in 1961, we had Betty and Barney Hill in the White Mountains of New Hampshire that were abducted. And then boom, 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 you had everybody stepping up and saying, I too have been abducted and probed. And you had people like Whitney Strieber and John Mack from Harvard saying, yes, this is true, this happens. And it just blew up. I mean, Benny and Barney tapped into something. So something going on there, whatever that is, but just pretty powerful stuff that inhibits the realm of ufology, but not the realm of cryptozoology.
I love your knowledge.
My what?
Right?
Your knowledge, I love it.
Well, it's late, and these lights here, these are ring lights. I mean, they're like burning me. Probably turning red. So.
Oh no, you're
No.
just turning reddish green. It's fine. You're baking. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So tell me about your experiences with the paranormal. We all have theories of paranormal. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong, because you can't prove it. And that's what I like about it, because everybody's experience is different, because you perceive things differently.
Yeah.
What has your experiences been with the paranormal?
Well, let me give you two of them.
Yeah. I love the two. Go ahead.
Anyway, when I was a kid, I always thought that I could levitate. I thought that I could go down in the basement and fly around the basement. And I don't know where that comes from. I don't know what that was, but I mean, it was a powerful sensation that something was happening. It was almost like an altered state of consciousness. So whatever it was, I mean, that stays with me. Again, I don't know what it was, but even if it was imagining and fantasizing that, I was able to tap into something. So, I mean, call it what you will. I don't know. But the real thing happened. I'm a Vietnam vet. I served aboard the USS Constellation.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Yes. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. Could say that again?
Thank you for your service, sir.
Yeah. Down in Florida, that's all they do. That's all they say. Well, thank you. That's very nice. I appreciate it. I was a radarman aboard the USS Constellation, an aircraft carrier, and we would see UFOs. Now, by UFO, I mean a bogey. Solid, maneuverable contacts. They were faster than any guided missile we had or the Soviet Union had at the time. They would go into logbooks as UFOs. We would put the range and bearing. And then we were told, keep your mouth shut, don't talk about it. Now, keep in mind that in Nam, aboard the ship, most of us guys were like under 20 years of age. For the most part, we were just little babies. I was, 17, 18 when I was 17 when I joined. So we kept our mouths shut. We were law-abiding. And then, but I would go through these logbooks when I had a chance and look at all these UFO sightings. They were numerous. There were lots of them. All of my buddies, fellow radarmen, saw the same thing. And then the next day, these logbooks would disappear, and they would be replaced by other logbooks. Fresh ones would start all over again. So during, I go to Navy reunions, and I talk to my buddies, and they say, yeah, we saw the same thing. And it's not just Navy people. I've talked to guys of other services that have seen the same thing. So, the big flap was, I think, 2014, the USS Nimitz off the coast of San Diego. This tic-tac shaped thing hovered and then zigzagged, and then it went under the water. So they know that these UAPs, these unidentified anomalous phenomenon, can either stay in the air or go underwater. So whatever they are, but the Patterson-Gimlin film, Bigfoot film of, what is it, 1967, I believe, correct? I think that's the year for that.
I think it's 67, yep.
Is equivalent to the 2014 Nimitz UAP TikTok video, just in authenticity. Both of those seem to be the real thing. They've been scrutinized, slowed down. Certainly with Patterson and Gimlin, that film is about as famous as the Zapruder film of John Kennedy's assassination. So it's been analyzed so many times and looked at. And one thing that's pretty interesting is there was a guy named John Napier. He was a British paleontologist. And John Napier was in charge of the Smithsonian. So they had a chance to take a look at the Patterson-Gimlin film. It's only like, 58 seconds, just a short little thing. And really, if somebody was going to try to hoax us, I mean, you would think that they would make it a little bit longer,
At least 2 minutes. Yeah.
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 So anyway, Napier takes a look at it with his buddies. There were some Russian guys there because Russians were a lot more into Almas or Yeti or abominable snowmen than our scientists. But Napier thought that it was a hoax. And the reason for that, he thought that they cobbled the top of an ape with the bottom of a humanoid. So, like an ape-like features on top and human, walk like a human, bipedal on the bottom. And that was in, I forget when he saw that, but 2 years later, with Australopithecus lucy, they discovered Australopithecus in Ethiopia. Now, they called it Lucy for the Beatles, Lucy in the Sky of Diamonds. The the discoverers, got drunk and played Beatles music that night to celebrate that. But when, a little factoid there. But when Napier heard about it, he said, wait a second. And man, I'm just blocking on the years when that was, but it was 2 years later. But when he heard about it, he said, I've been wrong, because Lucy, which was only like 4.5 feet tall, man's earliest ancestors had the upper body of an ape and the bottom of a humanoid. So, long arms to climb the trees. And, so Napier said that he was wrong. But it was an example of science coming around full circle and giving us the tools, giving us the information that we needed. So, I love the Patterson-Gimlin film because I think it's authentic. We keep on looking at it so many different times. I mean, it's not a man in a monkey suit. I mean, it's just not. It's something real. But again, that's the only, other than the footprints, that Jeff Meldrum and some other people have collected. I mean, like footprints that are bigger than man, bigger than apes. The stride that's longer than a bear or a man or ape. I mean, there's something there. Again, it's not tangible. We cannot satisfy the scientific community because we don't have the proof, and that's what we're looking for. So that's what's frustrating for all of us. And I know that some of this Bigfoot hunters are just, they so want to see something, but I don't know. I mean, I know a bunch of people that say that they've seen Bigfoot, and maybe they have, but, and maybe they haven't. So I don't know. I've never seen one. I did have an experience. We were back in Pennsylvania, and it was cold. I'm trying to think. We were walking along the river, and I look and I see this shape coming towards me. It's black, and there's a tree there, and the shape goes behind the tree. And this is like 1001, 1002, 1003, like maybe 3 seconds. It's coming towards me. I'm thinking just for a second, what if it is Bigfoot? And I'm hoping it's Bigfoot. It comes towards me. Your eye looks at that. You start looking at it, and the form takes shape. And here, it was a woman wearing a large, like a fur-looking coat with shoulder pads, and she's coming towards me. But I mean, for a microsecond, there was that thing that I thought I saw Bigfoot. It wasn't, but I mean, what a thrill! I mean, I know what it was like to have seen one because I know that thrill, that feeling of awe. And even though, and I don't misrepresent what I saw, it wasn't Bigfoot. It was a woman wearing a coat, but that feeling I had, that feeling of awe, that finally, it's happening. But, I hike in Pennsylvania, the mountains of Pennsylvania. I hike in the swamps and the sands of Florida. It's all sandy soil down here. And I keep on looking at, haven't, not yet. And and they say that there's the 4 top states for Bigfoot sightings is California, Washington, Pennsylvania, and Florida. Florida with the skunk ape. So, who knows? where I live on the Gulf side, there's a lot of counties where there's large swamp areas, just acres upon acres of swamps, places where something can hide. So who knows, but I've never seen one.
I love
Wow.
that. Well, if I may ask you a question about the government conspiracies, I'm a
Yeah.
big government conspiracy guy, and I think that the reason why they like to cover up things, or the reason why the government does what they do, is because if we knew that there's other things out there, they would lose control. What is your theory on why they would cover up UFOs, TikTok video, or the Tic Tac video? Why do you think they do that?
Well, first of all, back in the 1947 with Roswell, there was a study, and I want to say maybe it was the Robertson study, but these psychologists said that if people found out too much, that it would turn society upside down, and we would lose faith in God and realize that there's, I mean, all that stuff, our whole structure, that whole hierarchy of deities and religion and all that would be just changed.
Hmm.
Changed. But I don't believe that. I think we're more sophisticated than that. I mean, look at the asteroid that, what was it A1 Atlas that just came, that's coming down, and some people are saying that it
Three
was,
Eyeless.
you
Yep.
know, it's controlled by intelligent sources, but then NASA and everybody else said no, it's just an asteroid that just happens to be from outside our solar system and it's just passing through. So that's what it is. But um, I think it's this. I think there are clandestine arms of the government, black ops, that are funded by the Department of Defense. And if we were able to go and track the money, if we had a knowledge about finances, we'd go and see where the money's going. But I think there's places there that the government. I'll give you an example. I was at a conference 2 years ago. I was doing a presentation on Dr. Santee, the White Witch, a Wiccan. And the guy sitting next to me was from San Francisco, worked for the government in remote viewing. Remote
Hmm.
viewing. And I wanted to pick his brain and find out, well, what do you do? And Jacques Vallée it was a remote viewer. He was really good at that. But this guy wouldn't tell me anything. But a lot of us erroneously thought that Montauk in Long Island was the place where we had all these government, uh, a citadel of government information with remote viewing and time travel and astral projection, whatever weird paranormal concept is out there. There's a government entity or a Chinese or a Russian entity working on it to go and try to figure out if there's a military advantage. So I think that's the reality. The other thing is this, forget about classified information. That is nothing. David Grush in July of 2023 said that he knows where uh, the, uh, the humanoids are, and he knows where the crashed vehicles are, and he will share that classified information to the right people in the right place. Now, that was in July of 2023.
Hmm.
In November of 2023, we had another congressional hearing with Luis Elizondo. And then in September of 2025, we had a third one. All of these people are saying the same thing. The government knows something and they're not being transparent. They're not telling us. That's the one thing. The pilots are seeing things like I saw back during Nam, that seeing things that are faster and more maneuverable than any known technology that we have. So
Mhm.
whatever that is, I think there's certain arms of the United States government that knows this and tracks this, and maybe they're even doing reverse engineering, but nobody is going to find out about it. You don't have the need to know. And I'll tell you something else. Donald Trump doesn't have the need to know. Donald Trump could start screaming and whining and demanding to know about Roswell and flying saucers and all that. He will not, that they will not open up. It's on a need to know basis, and it's buried underneath all kinds of clandestine organizations, and classified information is at the bottom. At the top you got top secret and ultra top, and I mean nobody's going to know. When I listen to these things, I remember exactly where I was in July of 2023 when David Grush was testifying, and I thought, finally, we're going to get the answers. Well, we didn't get it in 2023. We didn't get it in 2024. And I'm here to tell you here on Darkwoods Paranormal that we didn't get it in 2025. So what's up with that? I mean, it's like a song and dance. It's like a tease. It's like a ploy. It's like a, come on, give me a break. You know, I mean, if I wrote letters to 6 people involved in the UFO committee: Marco Rubio, Anna Paulina Luna, the guy Tim, what's his name, from Tennessee. I mean, there were 6 people I wrote letters to. Marco Rubio was the only one who wrote back. And then I had a correspondence with him. I was saying, let's make David Grush show his cards and tell us what he knows. If he knows where the bodies are and knows where the vehicles are, show us. And at that point, Marco Rubio gets bumped up to Secretary of State. So I don't have anybody to talk to right now. But anyway, that's the thing. I think there's people that know, but it's not going to be us. I don't think we're going to. I don't think they're going to tell us, because I don't think they feel we have the right to know. It maybe we would go crazy, and maybe society would be turned upside down. I don't know. I mean, you know, I don't know. But again, even from 1947 with Roswell, what do we have? All we have is we have secondhand information. We have whistleblowers. We have people that say, I've seen things or I've heard things. But with the Roswell incident, the book that came out in 1980, I believe, that was something like 33 years after the fact. So all the information you got from Roswell is just like second or third hand, as opposed to the Kecksburg flak in Western Pennsylvania, December of 1965, when that UFO went down. I mean, they immediately took pictures, and they used the Freedom of Information Act to get information, which I want to say was either redacted or missing. It was lost. So they never got what they were looking for. So, but Kecksburg, Pennsylvania was more legitimate, more substantial than was Roswell. Roswell just got the whole mythology that gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So, you know, I mean, we know very little about Roswell. All we know is that we have a whole lot of crybabies saying that the government knows, and they're not telling us. So that's about the bottom line. I mean, is there anything more that, am I missing something?
No, you're right on. Absolutely right on.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if it's a conspiracy. It's just that's how they play. You know, I'll tell you another thing too. You know, watch what you say. Don't get too close to the truth. There's ways. They have their ways. They have their ways. You don't want to. You know, as a rock journalist, I had written an article about Jim Morrison of the Doors, and when I was in the Navy, I was on the Constellation. We did, you know, combat with the USS, the Bonhomme Richard. The commander of the Bonhomme Richard was Admiral Morrison. That was Jim Morrison of the Doors' father.
Oh, wow.
So during the 6-day war, that was Israel versus Egypt, Israel bombed the USS Liberty. It was a spy ship. The Liberty killed about 45 people. Admiral Morrison said that there should be economic and military reprisals against Israel. So there went, you know, he mouthed off, you don't do that in the military. So there went the chain of command. But the other thing is, and here's the conspiracy theory that I believe. I believe that Jim Morrison was offed as payback to Admiral Morrison for him mouthing off. And, you know, with the Mossad, the Wrath of God hit team, the way it works is you go and you just check out the neighborhood. Jim Morrison was an alcoholic. He did all of his drinking at this one bar in Paris. So you check it out. When does he get there? When does he go home? They shot him up with heroin. He wasn't a junkie. He was an alcoholic. They carry him up to the bathtub. They find him 2 days later. There was never an autopsy. They said it was a heart attack. There was a cover-up. But I think it was payback by the Mossad. But anyway, whether it was or whether it wasn't, I've been told that I should keep my mouth shut because they could be coming after me for mouthing off this. But I mean, but listen, When was the last time you heard anything about the USS Liberty, the spy ship, being sunk by Israel during the Six-Day War? Or have you ever heard of that?
No.
Okay.
And I don't even think I remember ever hearing that. No.
Yeah. And do
No.
not read an iota of anti-Semitism in that, because it's not about that. It's about, the Israeli military taking out an American spy ship and killing, I think, 45 people. So that's what
Wow.
that was about. But anyway, Jim Morrison, uh, the rock singer, is dead and dying of a heart attack brought on by heroin. Makes no sense at all to me as a rock journalist who followed this stuff. And Commander or Admiral Morrison's career path was halted fast. So, whatever that is, but that's under the conspiracy theory. So, you pick your, your facts, see what you think.
Well, thank you for that. I didn't know that, and I actually enjoyed that. I know we're getting close to the end here. I wanted to ask you a little bit about why do you think society likes to tear down those that they worship? They like to see people rise to fame,
We're talking.
and they love to see them fall apart. What is your theory behind that?
Yeah, it's what is that German word where you take delight in somebody's mishap, whatever that is. And I'm blocking on that, but um, there's just some psychological term that there's a part of us, and it's not a good part of us, but it shares the same space with jealousy and hatred and animosity and all that. That we sort of take some delight in seeing somebody like maybe Jeffrey Epstein, to see that he had his fall, not from grace, because he never was in grace, but
Right.
that he fell, and or Harvey Weinstein, he was another one. So I think there's a lot of people that look at that and think that finally, because a lot of times the rich and famous get away with it.
Right.
They do their crimes, and they get away with it because they have the money, the clout, the leverage, the attorneys to go and make that go away. So I think that we all share some of that, and and even with the Warrens, it was sort of like that, because they were successful, and I think people were just envious of their success. I would love to reach their levels of success, but we work hard for that, but that doesn't happen with everybody.
Right.
It happens with a select few. So you're either there at the right place at the right time, or you have the right gifts of articulation, or you look the right way, or whatever it is. But you just need to have the cards, and not everybody does. So but that's a great question.
I love that. Well, as we wind to a close, did you want to tell us about yourself? Where people can find your books, where they can find out about you? We'd love to have you on again. You're absolutely fascinating.
Actually, thanks. I was going to say that too, Gabriel. Like, I think we need a part 2.
We do need a part 2 with Madison
We
Spirit.
definitely need
Absolutely.
another hour for sure with you.
We'll have to remember, what part 1 and part 2 is. We have to remember
Yeah, we do. Yeah. But piggybacking off of what Gabriel said, tell us about where people can find you, your website, of course, where they can purchase your books. And also, I know we didn't even really touch much on the Schmerl haunting, which I really, I think another part 2, and the new book that you have coming out, which I would also love to have people know about as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, my website is www.maximfuryk.com, maximfurek.com, and you could check out my website. You could find out about me and my books. You could order the books there. If you want autographed copies of the book, you get it from there. I encourage your listeners to, if you like what you hear, buy a book or two, and also do a review on Amazon. We need those reviews. It drives the algorithm. It really is one of the biggest things. It's like you folks getting monetized. It's what we need to happen in our little multiverse, So, if you could do a review, that would be fine. And then also, listeners, support local podcasts, bookstores, authors, etc.
Absolutely.
Not corporate America, not Darth Vader, but us people, because we need the money. Jeff Bezos of Amazon doesn't need the money, but I do. So anyway,
I love that.
yeah.
Oh,
And
you've been
Jeff knows that too. He could take a good joke. I mean,
Yeah,
you
you
know,
can.
yeah. So
Unless he wants to be a sponsor here on the show, then we love Jeff. Just
yeah,
saying.
he could sponsor you
And-
too.
Yeah.
yes, and by the way, for the listeners, I mean, don't forget about the brisket, and you could buy that brisket where? What's the name of the store?
Oh, the brisket you're talking about, the Hudson Smokehouse in Ironton,
Hudson, yes,
Minnesota.
Hudson
If you
brisket, yes.
ever get the chance, it
Oh my
it
gosh.
is absolutely. We were amazed to find this place. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
stumbled upon it. It was so random that we
And we stumbled
upon
out of it. It was so good. We were drunk with food.
I'm going to start a Hudson brisket fan club down here in Florida. We're going to.
There you go. There you go. I love it. Raven, do you have any last words before we go, my dear?
I just want to again thank you, Maxim. I really do think we
Absolutely.
need to have you on for part two.
Part 2
you
and
were a
3,
fa-
absolutely.
and 2 and 3. You know
Yeah.
what? You could just join us. You could be.
Well, let's
We're
do this.
taking you on
Hopefully, we
tour.
could do this again on the Schmerl haunting when Ed and
Yes.
Lorraine came to town. And for your listeners, it's the same theme as Conjuring Last Rites,
Mhm.
only that was a fictitious story. My book, The Schmerl Haunting, is the true story about Ed and Lorraine Warren, the Schmerls, and Annabelle, the demonic doll. So
Yeah, which we need to really. So we'll definitely we'll plan this. We'll plan this out. I will have you. We'll you and I are in contact, so we'll talk some more and we'll make a plan.
Yeah.
But you've been fascinating, and thank you so much for being on the show as always.
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you
We
guys.
appreciate all your knowledge and all of the crazy conspiracy theories and the fact that I think Gabriel's leaning with you and the Bigfoot, so this makes me happy.
We're on the
Um,
same wavelength. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And we want to thank Riverside too for.
Yes,
hosting
we
this.
do.
Yes.
Riverside is who we use to host these events. They've been really good to us. We do enjoy the platform that they provide. So
Right.
Yes.
And also
definitely.
one
So-
last thing, and then I'll go. But I want to thank Dark Woods Paranormal and podcasts like yours for allowing authors like me to have this opportunity to talk about my books and my research. I mean, this is an awesome opportunity for us to go and get the word out with the listeners. And I mean, I can't thank you folks enough for inviting me. This is just we need this, and it's just a great hookup. So thank you so much for the invite.
thank you. And hold on for a second. I'm gonna do an outro, and we'd like to talk to you a little bit off air.
Sounds good.
Yes. And
Fantastic.
just a reminder to our listeners, we will not be doing a live on Thursday. We do normally do our lives Thursdays and Sundays, but Thursday's Thanksgiving, so we will not be doing a live on Thursday, but we will be back next Sunday with an all new Dark Woods
We will not
Paranormal.
be back next Sunday. We will actually be in Milwaukee doing.
No, not next Sunday. That's the Sunday after.
Oh, that is the Sunday after. Well, why don't you tell our listeners where we're going to be and what's going on with us in the
Is it
future?
Milwaukee?
Yeah.
Yes. We're going to be actually at, I'm going to say it wrong, but Krumperschnatt. No, I
Krumperschnatt.
think that's actually, that
I
might be
think
right.
Krumperschnatt's right.
Krumperschnatt. It's where they celebrate Krampus in Milwaukee.
yeah.
They do it normally in Germany,
Yeah,
but Milwaukee, Wisconsin also does their own version of it, and
They
I'm
do.
super excited to go check it out.
That-
We have full media access.
Yeah.
So we'll be there, we'll be recording, we'll be interviewing, and hanging out with all of the Krampus that we can.
Yeah, and that's the Christmas ogre that they use to scare the kids. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
it's this.
What a
Yes.
concept. Yeah. Well, you guys know how to do it up there, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
we
do. We have the serial killers and the killer of Christmas. I mean,
know
it's
you
all
do.
right
Yeah.
there.
I know. Yeah. Jeez. What's in the water?
I will say,
Oh,
funny story. My brother's name in my phone for the last, I don't know, probably 5 years has been Krampus because I told my kids one time that I was going to have to call Krampus if they weren't going to behave. That's the kind of parent I am.
Well,
Raven,
we're
do you have
all
anything
raised
else?
with- All raised
was-
with that too. So.
well,
That
we
was it. That's it.
All right. Well, my friends, as we draw to a curtain close on another evening together, we want to extend our deepest thanks to our guest, Maximum Furix, which I love, absolutely. You have been fantastic to listen to. I love your stories. I love your energy. Thank you so much for being here, for joining us and lending us the insight, his experience, and unique understanding of the mysteries that surround us. His work reminds us that paranormal is not only about what we encounter out there in the darkness, but what we confront within ourselves. To all of you listening, whether you are in the evening, thank you for walking this path with us. Your curiosity and questions, your courage to peer beyond the veil is what keeps this community alive. As always, I am Gabriel Von Graves, and joining me is Raven Knight, inviting you to remain vigilant, remain curious, and continue pursuing the truths that hide in plain sight. Until we meet again, stay aware, stay curious, and most of all, my friends, do stay safe out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.